right, good Friday evening, everyone. Thanks for stopping by for a check of the weather. Hope everyone has had a wonderful day today. We are on the warm side this afternoon. We have not hit a record yet, and the big reason for that is the cloud cover that has been very persistent across the area. You can see again lots of very thick, high clouds coming off of the mountains, the Sangre de Cristos. Lots of strong winds, but again, we haven't seen as much daytime heating just due to that deck of clouds keeping some of that radiation from the sun at bay. So here's what it looks like from Follett. You can see again, there's that, I mean, it's a thick deck of cirrus clouds. You can't really make out where exactly the sun is. I mean, you can tell where it's at, but again, that big yellow orb in the sky is a lot bigger with, again, a lot of that glare being refracted from a lot of those particles in the clouds. Temperatures right now at 66 in Amarillo, 67 in Dalhart, 74 in Tucumcari, 70 degrees in Pampa. Record highs really going to be down in the South Panhandle where we've had a little bit clearer skies. Winds out of the southwest, they're pretty light in the northeast Panhandle, still a little breezy down in the southwest. Areas like Hereford and Clovis and Dimmitt probably still dealing with some elevated to critical fire conditions. Just something to think about for the rest of this evening. Humidity values are as low as about 10%. So if a fire were to get going, the wind would allow it to spread. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you're avoiding those activities that could start a fire. Probably need to do the same thing for tomorrow as well. Here's our lows for tonight. We'll fall down into the upper 40s and low 50s. Our normal high is 51 degrees, and we're going to be right there around that tomorrow morning for the low temperature. As we get into the afternoon, it's still questionable on if we're going to set records tomorrow as well. And the big reason for that is not necessarily the cloud cover, it's our next cold front pushing through. Again, this is going to probably split our weather from being more seasonal or at least a little bit warmer than normal to being very warm the further south you get. If you're on the south side of the boundary in the afternoon, I would expect us to have probably some more fire weather concerns. Winds out of the west southwest at 15 to 25, potentially gusting as high as 40 miles an hour. Now, here's what those highs for tomorrow look like. It's still going to be mild everywhere. It's just how mild, and if we're going to get hot enough to see some of those record-setting temperatures. Amarillo, we're forecasting to climb to 74. Notice our record is 75, and again, if we don't get there, then that record will stay in place for at least another year. The interesting thing about tomorrow's record is it's the last daily record high for Amarillo since we've been taking observations since 1892. That's occurred before the year 1900. So again, if we do set a new record tomorrow, that will erase the last long-standing record that's been in place since the 1800s. From a highs perspective, you can still see we've got 25 daily record lows on the calendar year for Amarillo from that same century, 24 daily record rainfall amounts, and then still 10 daily record snow amounts. Obviously, you're not going to have as many of those because it doesn't snow in the summertime. So you in theory don't have as many records that you have to break for that. Let's go ahead and run through the computer model. We do expect those temperatures to be very warm out ahead of the front. We'll probably get enough compressional heating that wherever the boundary's at by 4 or 5 p.m., if it's still north of Amarillo by 5 o'clock, I think we've got a good chance to maybe set a new record. But if the front does get here early, which is something that happens pretty regularly here, then we may not get to that record high temperature. So there is still some questions in that regard. As we get into Sunday, though, it'll be closer to normal. We'll start off around freezing, and then we'll see some low clouds, probably some mist and drizzle down in the southeast, and then the rest of us, where we do see some sunshine and that southwest wind return, we'll probably get back up into the 60s, but we'll stay in the 40s and 50s where that low deck of clouds will probably persist in the area. And you can see from our temperature trend, we're probably leaning towards Amarillo being more in that cloud deck than out of it. And so I would expect us to have maybe a closer to normal day for our temperatures. But it's not a long-lived cooling event. It vacates the area very quick. We're actually seeing that ridge of high pressure build back in by Monday. I mean, we're at the peak of this ridge's intensity by Tuesday before it slowly starts to skirt up to the north and east up towards the Midwest. So maybe by Thursday and Friday, we're still probably away from the center of the high. But it could be the hottest Christmas on record for Amarillo. Our record for the day is only 73 degrees, and we are forecasting a high of 77 for right now. So it's very possible that this could be the warmest Christmas ever experienced in observed history since 1892 for the Amarillo area. Again, that's just how long that our observations date back to. So we've got a little over 130 years, 133 years of data to dig through and comb through. And this could be the warmest one of all 133 Christmases that we have so far experienced. Typically, we have about a 9% chance for a white Christmas. So odds are it's not normally a white Christmas for us. Definitely won't be this year. You're going to be unwrapping presents and gifts probably in a t-shirt and shorts this year. No need for the sweaters and the ugly sweater competitions. I guess you can still have them, but again, it's just going to be a very hot stretch of weather for us from Monday through Friday. The next thing that we'll have to keep an eye on, I'll go ahead and just kind of drag this over. Don't take this for gospel truth. Um, let's go ahead and go to our height anomalies. This is a deterministic model, so it's just one single output. Don't take it for gospel truth on what's exactly going to happen as we get into next weekend. But this is Christmas Day. You can see that we've got, I guess we need to jump back over to our 12Z data. So this is Christmas Day. You can see that big ridge. This is, again, what's driving all that warm weather, is that ridge of high pressure that's just centered over in the south part of the country. But as we get into the middle of the weekend, you can see this trough. Again, we were talking about this the last few days, how this trough is just trying to live out here off the west coast. Maybe by the end of the year, we get enough west to east progression that this thing skirts into the plains as a closed upper level low. The exact intensity, the timing, the track of this thing is still very much up in the air. So don't want to, again, talk about definitives at this point in time. I mean, this is that same low. You can see much, much weaker than what the GFS had as. This is the European output, and it's even a little bit more progressive with it getting here on Sunday rather than maybe early next week. And then the Canadian only goes out to 240 hours. You can see, again, this thing's doesn't really even have a trough out here. So there's not a very good consensus on what to expect with that thing just yet. But if we do jump over to mediograms, I'm going to point this out. It's a signal. You can see we've got some precipitation starting to show up on the ensembles, and that has to do with the potential track and the timing and the strength of that low pressure center. This would be a welcome sight. It doesn't matter if it's rain or snow. Hopefully it's not ice, but I mean, I guess we'll take it if we can, just try and stay off the roads. But looking at the winter weather aspects, I mean, this is probably going to be too warm core of a system for winter weather if we do end up in the band of precipitation. We may actually have to talk about thunderstorm chances with it, depending on where our dew points stand. I mean, with that ridge of high pressure, as it shifts to the east, you will get some of that return flow from the Gulf of Mexico. So we may even see some dew points surge up into the 40s and 50s here in the panhandles out ahead of that storm system. So we may actually have like a legitimate dry line with that system as it comes out of the desert southwest, where we're talking about, maybe where we go from windy and dry weather to maybe more some thunderstorm activity than anything else. I mean, you can see some of these models pinpointing maybe some higher totals if we get a good track of the low. That's just the European ensemble. Looking at the American ensemble, it's not as high on the totals, and it's not as in consensus with the output on if we get some moisture or not. You can see, again, probably not going to be winter weather with the snow potential, but there is maybe some more of these ensembles that are suggesting that maybe our next chance of precipitation could be at least around the corner. And then you can see, again, the Canadians actually got a decent consensus there that maybe some precipitation could be possible around Sunday to Tuesday, that 28th through the 30th window. That would be the next thing to keep an eye on for us here in the high plains. But that's all we've got. Again, we're still 10 days out from that system. Don't want to talk about definitives just yet, but maybe something to look forward to if you're tired of talking about sunny and 75. So yeah, enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Thank you so much for stopping by. Don't forget to hit the like button, and we'll